You know what mental strength actually looks like in real life? It does not look like someone who never breaks down. It looks like someone who breaks down, sits with it fully, and then quietly gets back up without needing anyone to notice. Psychology has spent decades studying what separates people who endure from people who collapse under the same pressure. The difference is rarely talent or luck. It is a specific set of inner habits. Here are 10 signs you already carry them. The first sign is that you feel your emotions without being controlled by them. You do not suppress what you feel. You do not perform what you think you should feel. You allow it, experience it fully, and then decide what to do next. Psychologist James Gross at Stanford University found that emotional suppression actually increases physiological stress while reducing social connection. Mentally strong people do not bypass emotion. They process it consciously. That processing is what gives them the stability others mistake for coldness or distance. The second sign is that you are deeply comfortable with silence and solitude, not as an escape, but as a genuine source of restoration. You do not need constant noise or distraction to feel okay. Your own company is enough. Research from the University of Rochester found that individuals who can tolerate and even enjoy solitude show significantly higher levels of emotional regulation and resilience under pressure. The ability to be alone without anxiety is one of the most underrated markers of psychological strength. The third sign is that you have stopped needing approval from people who do not truly know you. Not because you became indifferent to others, but because you gradually built a clear enough sense of who you are that external validation stopped being essential to your stability. Psychologist Edward Deci's self-determination theory shows that people who operate from internal motivation rather than external approval demonstrate greater persistence, higher well-being, and stronger recovery after failure. Needing less from others is not emotional withdrawal. It is psychological independence. They are very different things. The fourth sign is that you can hold two opposing ideas at the same time without needing to immediately resolve the tension. You can say, "I do not know." You can live inside a question without rushing toward a comfortable answer just to relieve the discomfort. Psychologist Scott Barry Kaufman calls this the ability to tolerate ambiguity, and it is consistently linked to higher creativity, more nuanced judgment, and stronger leadership capacity. The mind that demands immediate resolution is fragile. The mind that can sit with uncertainty has a different kind of foundation. The fifth sign is that failure does not define how you see yourself. It informs you. There is a critical difference. When something does not work, you examine it honestly, extract what is useful, and adjust. You do not make the failure a verdict about your worth. Carol Dweck's landmark research on growth mindset at Stanford found that individuals who treat failure as feedback rather than identity show measurably greater long-term achievement and psychological resilience. The story you tell yourself about what went wrong determines everything about what you do next. The sixth sign is that you have genuinely let go of things you cannot control. Not just intellectually accepted it, but actually stop spending your energy on outcomes that were never yours to determine. You put your effort where it can actually make a difference. Research from the University of Florida on perceived control and well-being found that accepting the limits of your control is one of the strongest predictors of reduced anxiety and increased life satisfaction. Mental strength is not about controlling more. It is about releasing what was never yours to hold. Now, consider this for a moment. Think of the last time something fell apart around you. Did you reach for control immediately? Or were you able to stay grounded while everything moved? The answer to that question says more about your inner strength than almost anything else. The seventh sign is that you protect your energy deliberately and without apology. You know which relationships restore you and which ones quietly drain you. You make choices based on that knowledge, even when those choices are hard to explain to others who do not operate the same way. Psychologist Susan Fisk's research on social cognition found that emotionally intelligent individuals are significantly more accurate at identifying relationships that cost more than they return. Protecting your energy is not selfishness. It is a form of self-awareness that most people take years to develop, and many never develop at all. The eighth sign is that you can genuinely celebrate other people's success without measuring it against your own. When someone around you wins, you feel something clean and real. Not a performance of happiness, but actual warmth. Because your sense of worth does not depend on relative comparison. Research on social comparison theory, originally developed by Leon Festinger, found that people who compare themselves less to others show lower rates of anxiety, depression, and chronic dissatisfaction. The mentally strong person has built something inside that does not need to shrink others to stay standing. The ninth sign is that you are able to ask for help without experiencing it as defeat. You know the difference between the strength it takes to manage alone and the different kind of strength it takes to say clearly that you need support. You have learned to use both. Research on social support and resilience from the American Psychological Association found that the ability to seek and accept help is one of the most consistent predictors of long-term recovery from adversity. Isolation and difficulty is not strength. Knowing when to reach out is a significantly more advanced skill. The 10th sign is the one that may be the hardest to recognize in yourself. You keep going even when the outcome is not guaranteed. Not with blind optimism, not with performed certainty, but with a quiet, persistent commitment to continue that does not require the promise of a good result. Psychologist Angela Duckworth's decade of research on grit found that perseverance in the absence of external reward or visible progress is the single trait most reliably connected to long-term achievement and psychological durability. Talent is common. The willingness to keep moving without applause is genuinely rare. Now, consider this for a moment. Every one of these 10 signs has something in common. None of them are loud. None of them announce themselves. Mental strength, real mental strength, almost never looks dramatic from the outside. It lives in the quiet decisions nobody else sees you make. There is something else worth naming here. Mental strength is not something you either have or do not have. It is built slowly, through accumulated experience. Through every time you chose honesty when dishonesty was easier. Through every loss you stayed present for instead of running from. It is built through every moment you sat with discomfort instead of numbing it. Every time you kept a boundary that cost you something. Every time you allowed yourself to feel the full weight of something difficult without deciding the weight meant you were weak. The people who carry the most strength are almost never the ones announcing it. They are the ones who have simply decided, in small and repeated moments, to meet life directly, without pretending it is easier than it is. Without pretending they are more than they are. What psychology consistently shows is that mental strength is not the absence of struggle. It is the presence of a relationship with struggle that does not immediately flatten you. That distinction is worth sitting with, because most people confuse the two and build a false standard they can never meet. If you are struggling right now, that is not evidence that the 10 signs described do not apply to you. Struggling and being mentally strong are not opposites. They are frequently the same experience, from different angles, at the same moment in time. The person who breaks down and still shows up the next morning is not weak. The person who falls apart and then slowly begins to examine what happened and what it means is not fragile. That is exactly what strength in motion looks like when it is working. What separates the mentally strong is not that difficulty does not reach them. It does. Life finds everyone eventually. What separates them is what they do in the quiet interior space between what happens and what they decide to do about it. That interior space is where every one of these 10 signs actually lives. In the pause before the reaction. In the breath before the decision. In the silence where you choose whether to act from your clearest self or from your most frightened one. Think back to where we started. Mental strength does not look like someone who never breaks. It looks like someone who breaks, stays honest about it, and chooses to get back up without waiting for perfect conditions or guaranteed outcomes or the permission of anyone else. That kind of strength is not dramatic. It does not make a sound. It does not ask for recognition. It simply continues. And in a world that is loud and fast and constantly demanding performance, the quiet decision to continue is one of the most powerful things a person can choose to do. You do not have to be unbreakable to be mentally strong. You only have to be willing. Willing to feel without disappearing. Willing to fail without surrendering. Willing to keep asking who you are and what you stand for, even when the answers take longer to arrive than you would like. The 95% is not a number about other people being weaker. It is a number about how genuinely rare it is to build a relationship with your own mind that is honest, patient, and kind all at once. That combination is the work of a lifetime, and it is worth every difficult moment it costs. Strength is not a destination. It is a direction. And if you are moving toward it even slowly, even imperfectly, even on the days when it does not feel like enough, then you are already living inside the answer to every question this video began by asking.